Okay, guys, let's ignore the obvious low-hanging fruit headline here of Spank Pay payment service being shut down. We're going to talk about Justin Sun, your boy Justin Sun. He's been charged with offering unregistered securities, which a lot of people in crypto are probably going to be getting charged with over the coming years. But not just that, market manipulation, which is of course considerably worse. But not only that, Justin Sun, if you don't know, runs Tron. No, not the old game or the movie or the cool things, but a cryptocurrency. And he was getting people to promote it. Some of those people, Lindsay Lohan and Jake Paul, amongst other celebrities. So let's take a look at this. It's a SEC filing against entrepreneur Justin Sun and his companies for fraud and other securities law violations. So it's a little bit more than just unregistered securities. They're saying it's fraud. So the Securities and Exchange Commission today announced charges against crypto asset entrepreneur Justin Sun and 3 of his wholly owned companies, Tron Foundation Limited, Bitcoin Foundation Limited, and Rainberry Incorporated, formerly BitTorrent, for the unregistered offer and sale of crypto asset securities Tronix and BitTorrent. The SEC also charged Sun and his companies with fraudulently manipulating the secondary market for TRX through extensive wash trading. Wash trading, well, they're going to go through it. We might as well just let them explain, which involves the simultaneous or near simultaneous purchase and sale of a security to make it appear actively traded without an actual change in beneficial ownership, and for orchestrating a scheme to pay celebrities to tout TRX and BTT without disclosing their compensation. Now, obviously, multiple elements to this. Making a cryptocurrency, which most at this point, I believe, are in the throes of trying to figure out whether they're securities, whether they're not, whether they need to be regulated by Securities and Exchange Commission or not. I think in general it makes sense that they're securities, because if you look up what a security is, they fit. And things have been classified as securities that are not financial instruments at all. Things like whiskey and the fur trade, amongst others. So cryptocurrency, people aren't buying crypto not expecting line to go up, right? They're not buying it to not share in profits or to not assume that it's going to go up in value. And I'd say most people, even if they're just going based on their own logic of how they treat things, treat it like a stock, like a security, like your part ownership of, this decentralized new Web3 or whatever we're going to call it. Obviously, you'd need to tunnel in on certain things if you're going to give a statement on each thing, because not everything in crypto is the same. Not all of them sell for the same reason. Not all of them do the same thing. But in general, I'd say a lot of the big cryptos probably fall under a security. So obviously, when you're selling a security, you have to be regulated. You have to register that you're selling securities so that that can happen. If you don't, and they deem what you're doing is selling securities, you are then selling unregistered securities, which is a big no-no. Now, also, the second part of this, wash trading, that's fraud. Just plain and simple. It is what it is. It's basically making it look like there's tons of volume, like everyone's, going buck wild to get this product, essentially showing on exchanges and things like that. Oh, we're super high volume, so obviously a lot of people want this. So you should want it too, and you should buy in. And of course, if they're doing that just to make it look like that, market manipulation, fraud. And then the other element, orchestrating a scheme to pay celebrities to tout TRX and BTT without disclosing their compensation. This is a two-way street, right? Which is why these people are also being listed in the lawsuit. This is just something that you have no excuse for as either side, right? The company knows this is wrong, and the influencer knows this is wrong. I get contacted all the time for sponsorships, for promoting products or whatever else, and at no point, if they even ever said, oh, don't disclose this, would you do that? Because at least where I used to live in England, I'm fairly sure that's a crime. And obviously it's against YouTube terms of service, and it's against, these guidelines for SEC, FTC, everything like this. So you just wouldn't do it. But obviously that's on the influencer side. For the company side, at no point should they ever be doing this. Usually in a contract, it will actually stipulate you have to disclose this, because if not, obviously you're leaving the window open there for somebody to come along and say, oh, they didn't disclose it, but you also didn't tell them to do it, so you're both wrong. Your company would want to cover their arse on this one. So if they're not doing that, or if there's even more insidious elements to this, then bang to rights. So the SEC simultaneously charged the following 8 celebrities for illegally touting TRX and or BTT without disclosing that they were compensated for doing so and the amount of their compensation. Lindsay Lohan, who'd have guessed? Jake Paul. Now, obviously, this is the big one here because the Paul brothers, specifically Jake as well, has been tied up in so many of these fucking crypto promotions. It's just good to see that eventually maybe something will happen. Although I assume going through this, there's going to be a slap on the wrist or some kind of like financial out. Deandro Cortez Way, aka Soldier Boy, aka Big Draco, aka the CEO of Atari and every other game company ever. Austin Mahone, don't know who that is. Michelle Mason, Kendra Lust, don't know who that is. Miles Marks McCollum, who's Little Yachty, I know who he is, taking the walk to Poland. Schaefer Smith, who is Neo, not Andrew Tate, who is currently, fighting the Matrix. Neo, I assume the hip-hop person, although I don't know. And I'm not even going to try and pronounce him, but Akon's name. The SEC's complaint, filed in the US District Court for the Southern District of New York, alleges that Sun and his companies offered and sold TRX and BTT as investments through multiple unregistered bounty programs, which directed interested parties to promote the token on social media, join and recruit others to Tron affiliate Telegram and Discord channels, and create BitTorrent accounts in exchange for TRX and BTT distributions. So that's how they're alleging that it was, not disclosed and how the scheme was. And if you know anything about crypto recently, the US District Court for the Southern District of New York are basically the ones leading the charge in terms of making these people pay and upholding some kind of law in the lawless fucking hellscape that is cryptocurrency, NFTs, etc., etc. Almost every time I read anything related to the government going after somebody, it's Southern District of New York. NFT people being charged, Ponzi schemes, all this stuff. It's almost always these guys. The complaint further alleges that Sun, BitTorrent Foundation, and Rainberry offered and sold BTT in unregistered monthly airdrops to investors, including in the United States, who purchased and held TRX in Tron wallets or on participating crypto asset trading platforms. According to the complaint, each of these unregistered offers and sales violated Section 5 of the Securities Act. The Commission also alleges that Sun violated the anti-fraud and market manipulation provisions of the federal security law by orchestrating a scheme to artificially inflate the apparent trading volume of TRX in the secondary market. From at least April 2018 through to February 2019, Sun allegedly directed his employees to engage in more than 600,000 wash trades of TRX between two crypto asset trading platform accounts he controlled, with between 4.5 million and 7.4 million TRX wash traded daily. Wow, that's a fucking lot. This scheme required a significant supply of TRX, which Sun allegedly provided. As alleged, Sun also sold TRX into the secondary market, generating proceeds of $31 million from illegal, unregistered offers and sales of the token. So he was wash trading to make Tron look more attractive for people to buy in, for retail investors to ape in, and then dumping his tokens as it was going up. At least that's what that reads like. Which, if you get him on this, I don't know how you avoid prison, to be honest, but this case demonstrates again the high risk investors face when crypto asset securities are offered and sold without proper disclosure, said SEC Chair Gary Gensler. I've read that guy's name a bunch recently. Yeah, SEC Chair Gary Gensler. He seems to be absolutely fucking banging out of control. As alleged, Sun and his companies not only targeted US investors in their unregistered offers and sales, generating millions in illegal proceeds at the expense of investors, but they also coordinated wash trading on an unregistered trading platform to create the misleading appearance of active trading in TRX. Sun further induced investors to purchase TRX and BTT by orchestrating a promotional campaign in which he and his celebrity promoters hid the fact that the celebrities were paid for their tweets. I bet all these tweets have been deleted as well, because that's basically routine. Some of the people who offer things like this, like you can contact them and they'll say, oh yeah, 10 grand for a tweet to be up for 24 hours. So they get paid 10 grand, tweet, and then delete it 24 hours later. And that's just in their brain like, oh, nobody's ever going to notice this. As if things don't just get saved on the internet forever and then come back and, wreck you a few years later. While we are neutral about the technologies at issue, we are anything but neutral when it comes to investor protection. Good lad. Yeah, that's exactly how I see it as well. If people want to do Bitcoin and crypto and stuff like that, cool. Maybe one day this will do something positive and be really useful. But the space is just so full of fraud. And I think that most of the marketing and the FOMO and everything that goes on, it's almost cult-like. And also, as we're seeing, a lot of these things are literally just being run like Ponzi schemes, MLMs, frauds, pyramid schemes. And that definitely needs to stop, or the space is just completely tainted and will forever be so. Which people will obviously say that happens with every, innovation and everything that gets pushed forward, especially with mainstream adoption, but not quite like this. This is like something I've never seen before. As alleged in the complaint, Sun and others used an age-old playbook to mislead and harm investors by first offering securities without complying with the registration and disclosure requirements, and then manipulating the market for those very securities. At the same time, Sun paid celebrities with millions of social media followers to tout the unregistered offerings, while specifically directing that they not disclose their compensation. Okay, so if they have proof that he specifically stated, don't disclose your compensation, and they agreed to it, and they have proof of that, I can't wait to see these people get fucking wrecked, because this is gross. As we've seen, like with people doing class action lawsuits, etc., for people who were promoting FTX and things like that, this is even worse, because at least when they were doing that, they were actually upfront like, oh, this is sponsored. But with this, that's wild, man. So I wonder what's going to happen to them. Are we going to find out in the next episode of Dragon Ball Z? This is the very conduct that the federal securities laws were designed to protect against, regardless of the labels Sun and others used. With the exception of Cortez Way and Mahone. Which one's Cortez Way? Cortez Way is Soldier Boy. Of course, Soldier Boy and Mahone. Which one's Mahone? I don't even know who Austin Mahone is, so I don't even know why I'm looking at that. The celebrities charged today agreed to pay a total of more than $400,000 in disgorgement, interest, and penalties to settle the charges without admitting or denying the SEC. So it is just like I said. It's a slap on the... Oh no. Stop committing fraud, guys. Just using your influence over people that have followed you for a long time and trust you to make them lose money for your own personal interest, while you're also a multi-millionaire with a job that most people would kill for. That's what I don't get. That's what I mean, I do get it. It's a rhetorical question. I'm just musing out loud. I hate the fact that these people, like Jake Paul, doesn't need any more money, man. This guy is wealthy beyond comprehension for most normal people. He earns more money per year than most of you or me will earn in our lifetime, as well as he has basically a constant growth of revenue over time and will probably never go away. He's just going to be earning millions of dollars per year for the rest of his life, and he can parlay that with his influence and things like that into legitimate businesses that he could just operate and earn a bunch more money. He could be totally legit and earn hundreds of millions of dollars over the course of his life. But he also still feels the need to fucking scam his fans, the people who put him in that position in the first place, for like a couple $100,000, maybe a couple $1 million. I just can't put myself in that mindset of somebody being able to do that to people. It's really sad, to be honest, especially when you look at a lot of these people. They have a fan base that grew up watching them from kids, and they do sincerely look up to them and really like them, and their content is part of their daily routine, and they're very parasocial about it, most likely, and nothing happens. Like, oh, you paid a little bit of a fine, which obviously everyone always says a fine for a crime is basically, it's legal for money. That's not actually the saying. I've got that completely wrong, but you understand exactly what I'm saying. I'm not very clever. The SEC's investigation was conducted by Adam B. Gottlieb, I'm going to butcher these names, Ann Rosenfield, John Lucas, and John Marino. It was supervised by Paul Kim, Michael Brennan, George G. I know I'm doing it, Tenriro, and David Hirsch. Why has everyone's names got to be so difficult to pronounce? I just hate it. Why can't everyone be called John Johnson? I was talking shit the other day, but that's what really needs to happen, just so I don't make myself look like an absolute fool. A fool of a toque. The SEC's litigation will be led by Timothy Halloran and Mr. Gottlieb under the supervision of Melissa Armstrong. Good lads and lasses and whoever else. So there we go. Another slap on the wrist for these people. I can't stand that that's the case. Hopefully at least one of them, gets a little bit more than that. Justin Sun should obviously be the one who does. Earned millions of dollars from people, wash trade, fraud, telling people to also lie to their audience and fleece them. Not a very nice guy overall, but there we go. Hopefully this continues on. It seems like every week now we're getting a new lawsuit or a new actual federal charge against somebody, SEC, or real criminal charges. But yeah, thanks for watching. See you next time. Peace out.